You picking me up?
Yep.
Okay. You ready? All right. Well, it looked like the room cleared out quite a bit from the last time, but that's okay. I get the real hardcore. My name is Chip Bennett. I'm a theme developer. I'm a member and admin of the theme review team that reviews and approves themes that are added to the WordPress directory. So all the themes that you have available in your backend, the theme review team actually reviews each one of those by hand before they're approved. So it's my primary involvement with WordPress. I enjoy getting involved with the WordCamps, helping to champion best practices with theme development, educate theme developers, educate users. I know this is the power users track. How many in here are primarily users as opposed to developers? How many are developers more so than users? Okay, so most of this presentation is geared toward developers, but I think you'll get a lot of use out of this. And at the end, I've got something specifically for users for themes that don't incorporate the method that I'm going to talk about. So this presentation, as you can see, is on portable social network profile menus. So I'll just jump right in. So just to make sure we're all on the same page with what we're talking about with what are social media icons, how they're used in themes, what some of the issues are with how they're currently used in themes, what some current solutions are, and then the method that I'm going to propose, how to use custom nav menus to allow those links to be portable. Look at how to implement it in your theme development, and then for those of you who are users, I provide a solution at the end for how you can use it if your theme doesn't support it. So first of all, you've all seen these, right? Look pretty ubiquitous with most themes today. You've got a list of, could just be 3, it could be 25, whatever. Pretty much every theme you run across now has some way of integrating a way for you to display your social network profiles, usually Twitter and Facebook and a huge variety of others. So this is what we're talking about. Not the social sharing buttons that you find underneath posts, but actually the links directly to your profile. So how do most themes incorporate these? Most of them will use theme options. You go to appearance, whatever the theme name options is, and there'll be some options for enter your Twitter profile URL, enter your Facebook profile URL, etc. Some of them may parse the URLs and just ask you to enter your username, whatever, but they'll be stored in theme options. Others that I've seen are custom theme widgets, where the theme will define a widget with the same information and then tell you to put it into a certain dynamic sidebar. And I've seen some that actually use custom user profile metadata. So you go to your own user profile, there's a list of contact, and they'll add some custom ones. They'll hook those in, so they'll add a Twitter URL and a Facebook URL, etc. Now all of these are in different locations. The theme options, you go to appearance theme options. For a custom widget, you'd go to appearance widgets and then add a widget and configure it. Custom user meta, you go to your profile. So what's the problem? As I already alluded to, it's inconsistent user experience. Every theme's going to do it a little bit differently. So when you install a new theme, you're not necessarily going to know where to go. You have to figure out where to go to add in your social media information. And whenever you switch themes, you got to enter it again and again and again. Every time you switch themes, you've got to enter the same information every time. Now, if you go back to a theme you've already used, it's going to be there. But say most people will switch themes. How many here have never switched their theme? That's pretty typical. What's the average number of times you've changed your theme over the last 2 or 3 years? A couple, 5, 10, yeah. So, yeah, every time you do that, you're going to have to add this information in, and it may not be so bad if you're just adding 1, but if you add 10, that's 10 things you got to enter. It's the same thing every time. So, some current solutions would be to have a social media widget. I'm sure you can find them in the plugin directory. I didn't look, but I'm sure they're there. You install and activate the widget, and then you configure it, and all the information is there in the widget, whether you change your themes or not. One of the problems with that is a third-party plugin doesn't have any control over where it gets added to the template. So if a theme doesn't have a place provided that looks nice for social links, you have to probably just put it in a sidebar. Maybe you'll have one in the footer that you can put in and look nice, but you can't be sure from theme to theme. And also, it's not really going to be integrated into the theme style. So whatever the plugin style is, you're kind of stuck with unless you're, you look at the next method, which would be using a child theme. You could put them directly in a child theme and hard code them right into the template. But then you still got to define all the styles, and then you're still kind of stuck with that, kind of being part and parcel with the theme you're using. If you switch themes, you got to switch your child theme. So you've still got a lot of work. So what's a better solution? Custom nav menus. Is everyone here familiar with custom nav menus by now? Everyone uses them? Anyone that doesn't know or use custom nav? You don't know what a custom nav menu is? Okay. So I'll show you that in the WordPress backend at the end. Don't let me forget. But basically, if you go to Appearance Menus, if the theme you're using has registered support for it, it'll say I've got certain locations where a user can add a menu. It could be the primary navigation menu, a footer navigation menu, a secondary whatever. And then the user configures a menu, which is just a list of links to various pages or whatever. And then you assign your predefined menu to the location that the theme registers. So this method uses that same concept, only instead of a list of links to pages on your website, you use there's a separate entry for just generic link, and you can use that to make a list of links of your social network profiles. So the benefits, of course, is standard user experience. Any theme that uses this method, you're always going to know where to go to configure your social menus. You always go to Appearance Menus. The theme that uses it still retains complete control over the style of how that's output and where it gets output in the template, right? Because all it's going to do is say, I have a theme location here, and if the user has configured a menu to apply there, output it. And then WordPress has a standard markup for how a nav menu is output. The theme can still control every aspect of that style. It's child theme friendly. It's accessible to plugins, which I'll show you at the end. Actually, what I did was write a plugin that uses this method. And it's a graceful fallback, too. If you make a list of links and you've got a Facebook profile you link to, you're probably going to put Facebook as the text or Twitter as the text for your Twitter link. So even if the theme doesn't support it, you still have a fallback. It may not be the prettiest, but at least there's something that gets displayed if there are no icon style defined. So let's talk about how you'd incorporate it into a theme that you're developing. The first thing you do is add support for custom nav menus, which most themes already do, which would then mean you just need to define the template location for your social menu, output it in the template, and write the style, which is basically the same thing you do for any other implementation right now. So there's really not a whole lot changing. So the first part is registering support. How many of you, if you're primarily a user, not a developer, how many of you have looked at your functions.php file in your theme at all? Taken a look at it, maybe written a child theme so you're at least comfortable with it. Normally you're going to find in a theme setup callback that gets hooked into after setup theme, you're going to find a whole bunch of functions that look kind of like this, registering support for various functions. Custom background, custom header, defining the content width, all those sort of things. You'll probably see a line that says register nav menus, and they'll have all the navigation menus that the theme supports. So to do this method, all you need to do is add another key to the array for your social menu. Here we'll call it social. Then in the template, it'd be in your header.php, your footer.php, maybe in a sidebar, wherever it's going to get displayed. This is the normal method for outputting a menu. We're going to say if has nav menu social. That means if the user has assigned a custom nav menu to our theme location we called social, then we're going to output it. And we use theme location. I'm just going to make a note for developers, never use the menu parameter in place of the theme location parameter. I think all the developers in here probably know why that is. But this, for those who aren't developers, if you ever have issues with your nav menus not working the way you expect, one of the main culprits is a developer misunderstands what that menu parameter is and they use it in place of theme location. What that menu parameter is, it says if the user has defined or created a menu named whatever that is, so if you name a menu social, then that's what we're going to display there. Well, you could have named your menu social links or social profiles or whatever, in which case that's not going to match. But as long as whatever you name that menu, you assign it to the location that the theme has defined as social, then it'll work. So that's really how this is portable from theme to theme to theme, very simply. And then finally, you define the CSS. And most of the ones I see now use icon fonts. Is everyone here familiar with icon fonts? Genericons or Font Awesome, others like that. Anybody who's not familiar with an icon font? Okay, so an icon font is basically, are you familiar with Wingdings or Symbol? Those old fonts, it's basically the characters are little drawings, little pictures. It's basically what an icon font is. Only usually they use a separate part of the available space in that font. So one's still going to be one, two's going to be two. They use space farther out that you don't normally interact with on your keyboard, and one of those bits will be a Twitter icon, and one of those bits will be an arrow, and those kinds of things. So you can take that, and instead of using a background image in your CSS or an image sprite, you can simply tell it what character of the font to use. So it's a really clean way to add usually scalable images. That's usually a lot faster than using an image. So whatever method you use, this approach really supports any of them because all you're doing is defining CSS. And I'll go back to the previous page here. We passed a couple other parameters, container ID and menu ID. So when that gets output in the template, you're going to see a nav menu that's going to, by default, it's going to have a div that's a wrapper. If you have an HTML5 theme, that might be a nav instead of a div. And it's going to have an ID, and then you're going to have an unordered list that's going to have all of your list items in it. And it's going to have these IDs that we already passed it. So you can target those and style the CSS however you want. So there are several themes. This was a very quick search for themes that use this method. I think, what was it, maybe 7 months ago or so that Justin Tadlock actually proposed this idea. So it's not very widespread yet, but I believe that this will grow as more theme developers understand why it's helpful and how easy it is to implement. So I know Stargazer is a fantastic theme. Actually, I'm kind of partial to most of them because most of them I'm friends with the people who developed them and whatnot. I know they're good developers. So, and then the last one's mine, so I'm not really trying to pimp my own theme, but I did that just for proof of concept that it works. So, what if your theme doesn't support it? And I wanted to provide something for users, and also, again, I like to write plugins that are proof of concept. Kind of say, here's how you can do something. Here's a very simple implementation. And people who are really interested in it, now take it and run with it, make it even better. So I kind of did that in this case. I wrote a plugin called CBNet Social Menu, which basically applies this concept. It uses custom nav menus, and it supports several icon fonts. So I'm going to try and back out of full screen and come over and show you. Oh, this is hard to drive. Okay, so here's that plugin in action. Here it is in the plugin directory. It's really nothing special, but if you want an idea of the code behind it, it's all there. I host it on GitHub too. If you like using GitHub, you can find it there. I love forks. So here you can see on the side, this is just a widget that uses an icon font to display the social network links. And I think here you can see it where I use it in my own theme. Very, very similar approach. If I can take you into... You can see it's just a widget. You drop into any dynamic sidebar. But here I'll for the lady over who had never used custom nav menus, let me show you that real quick. Maybe real quick. So appearance menus. Have you seen this screen before? Okay. So up here, select a menu to edit. These are the menus you've defined. It used to be much easier to show when there was that little box up in the corner that listed all your theme locations. But you can find them down here, theme locations. You can also find it. Doesn't want to scroll. Manage locations. So before, I may have only had a primary menu. Then I just registered another location and called it social profile links. And then you just pick the one you want to apply there and output it. And that's really all that themes have to do. Now, this is actually kind of a test site using my own theme. So I did apply social there. Now, go. See, I actually have a custom widget. I used to have a custom widget that displayed it, and I switched that with just a theme location. So, does that make sense? For the 3 or 4 theme developers who are in here, does it seem like something that seems like a good idea to use, that you'd be interested in using? Are there any concerns or problems? Go ahead.
We just recently decided for WordPress.com to adopt that over the solution we had in Jetpack.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So that's a pretty huge endorsement. I think Sorbet was a WordPress.com theme, so I guess that'll be coming soon to most WordPress.com themes that use social menus. So that's pretty awesome. Any questions? I wanted to keep it pretty short because I know it's at the end of the day. So if you have any questions about this, I'm also open to any questions about themes, about the theme directory, about theme development, anything. Pretty much the floor is yours if you have any questions. I'd love to try to answer them. Go ahead.
How do you choose, can you choose a location of that menu when you create that?
You as a developer, or you?
I guess, yeah, either way.
Right, so let me, sure, I will, or using the plugin?
I guess,
Well,
either one.
the plugin, you're kind of stuck to wherever the theme defines dynamic sidebars. So that's why a plugin isn't the best solution. But if you're a theme developer, you can put that template code anywhere you want. If I can get, there we go. Nope. So this code here, this goes right in the template file. So wherever you want to put that, if you have kind of like an information bar and you want to have social network links in there, if you want to put it down in the footer, you want to put it in there, you output that wherever you want and pick how you want to style it.
Did you have to put that back in? Did you switch themes to put it?
You, as a user, no, you wouldn't have to do anything. I mean, the theme either supports it or it doesn't. Either way, you've still got your list of your links. They're just a custom nav menu, so they don't go away. That's kind of like basically a post type within WordPress, so it stays. Sure.
I was just thinking about you could just use a regular nav menu, right? As a theme developer, if you just use like an attribute selector looking for like the URL or like a specific class or something?
Yeah, and actually that's what most implementations do. They're just looking at the attributes, the href or whatever, and then they style it appropriately. So, yeah, the real advantage of defining a theme location is you can pick where you tell the user, hey, here's where the social links are going to be output. But if you wanted to apply icon fonts to any nav menu, it's just CSS.
Right.
Is there like a cheat sheet? I've never used icon fonts. Is there like I guess if I just did a search?
Take a look at again, that's why I like writing proof of concept plugins. Take a look at CVNet social menu. I've got Genericons, Font Awesome, Just Vector, and one other that I added. And just take a look at the CSS within the plugin. You can see how it applies. Basically, you pass the content, and you give it the Unicode character value, and it just replaces. Anything else? Anybody have questions about their own theme that you're using that would like some developer input on or anything? Well, if not, I will not stand between you and beer 30. So I'll be hanging around if you have any questions for me or just want to say hi. I'd love to help you any way I can. Thanks, everybody.